Okay, well, thank you for asking for my help on this. This is not an easy topic to get your head around. It's to do with proportionality, and in particular, with this one, it's dealing with both direct proportionality, where one thing increases, so does the other, but it also has inverse proportionality, because as one thing increases, the other would decrease, or as one decreases, the other one has to increase. So we've got a building site where we've got 4 bricklayers able to lay 2,000 bricks in 8 hours. So the bricklayers, we have 4 of them, and in the time 8 hours, they would lay, let's change that B to an L, so the layers time bricks. So in 8 hours, 4 bricklayers could lay 2,000 bricks. We want to work out how many bricklayers we need to lay 9,000 bricks in a deadline of 10 hours. So if we figure out 1 hour, what are we working with 1 hour? So if it takes 4 bricklayers 8 hours to produce 2,000, in order to produce 2,000 in an hour, you're going to need 8 times as many of those. So we would have to times that by 8 to get 32. So if you wanted the same number of bricks produced in an hour, you're going to need 8 lots of those to give you the 32. So 32 bricklayers would take an hour to lay 2,000 bricks. Now we have got 10 hours to lay bricks in. So if we want to take 10 hours, we're not going to need that many bricklayers. So whereas in this point we were multiplying by 8 because we're reducing the time, now we're increasing the time, so we're going to need 1/10 of that to produce that same amount. So this point now we're going to divide by 10. So in 3.2 it would take 3.2 men 10 hours to lay 2,000 bricks. But we don't want 2,000 bricks, we want 9,000 bricks. And 9,000 bricks is 4.5 times as much. To get from there to there would be 4.5 times. So we're going to need this time 4.5 times as many bricklayers. At this point now we have to multiply by 4.5. And so we want 3.2 multiplied by 4.5 and change the format. So it would take 14.4 bricklayers 10 hours to lay 9,000 bricks. But of course we can't have 14.4 bricklayers. 14 bricklayers wouldn't produce that many, they'd be just under, so you would need 15 bricklayers. Okay, so as I said, that's quite a complicated thing to take your head through. So just talk you through it again. This is the information we're given. If we want to reduce the time to 1 hour, we would have to have 8 times as many bricklayers, because it takes 4 bricklayers 8 hours. 1 hour would take 8 times as many. So that gives you 32. We're not working with 1 hour, we're working with 10 hours. So we won't need 32, we'd need a tenth of that to give you the 3.2. And then in that time we need 4.5 times as many bricks as that 2,000, so we need to increase that workforce by 4.5 times, and then round it to 15 bricklayers. Okay, so that's quite a horrible question. As far as marks are concerned, there would be 1 mark there. 1 method mark would be for the first change in proportion, so bringing that down to 1 hour. There'd be a method mark for then working to the 10 hours, and there would be a method mark for bringing that then up to 14.4. Sorry, that wouldn't be a method mark, that would be your answer mark, and then your final answer mark would be for rounding it up rather than down to make sure that you've got enough bricklayers. And then the second part, give one assumption that you made in answering part A. That is going to be anything along the lines of something like the weather doesn't change, all the bricklayers have the same work rate, so anything really where you're talking about the consistency of what you're doing, or what they are doing. It has to be consistent. Any change in that, and you know, that relationship isn't going to work. Okay, so there'd be an E mark for something like that. As I said, that's a really tricky question. Higher tier kids really find that challenging. Intermediate tier kids, very few manage to cope with that type of question.